Namaskaram to all viewers of Jyotirmarg. Dear viewers, after bidding farewell to Agni Deva, Krishna, Arjun and Mayaasura walked through the banks of Ganga river and then sat down there for a while, overlooking its divine and holy waters and also being relaxed by the soft blowing and cool breeze. Mayaasura thanked Arjun for saving his life from Krishna and Agni and then asked Arjun what he can give in return, to which Arjun replied that it is not appropriate to receive anything for saving a life. Arjun only wished to have long-lasting friendship between them. But that Asura kept on insisting, whereupon Arjun told him that he may do something for Krishna and that will make all three of them happy. Thereupon, Krishna thought for a while and asked Mayaasura to build an assembly hall for Yudhishtira. And Krishna said that it should be unique and without parallels. That architect of the Asuras was thrilled by the idea of building the best assembly hall in all three worlds and readily agreed to do so. Thereafter, reaching the palace, they told Yudhishtira all that had happened and then introduced Mayaasura and informed that king about the plan to build an assembly hall for him. Accordingly, that illustrious architect of great energies and vision identified the right place for the construction of the hall and on an auspicious day marked its boundaries. Learned Brahmins performed Bhumi Pujan and thereafter food was served and then cattle and gold were donated in abundance. Now that Krishna, who was living happily with the Pandavas for quite a long time, expressed his desire to return to Dwaraka. The Pandavas had no choice, so they made it a grand celebration with all their family, friends and relatives and the general public all joining together and bidding Krishna a farewell with great love and affection. Finally, when Krishna mounted his golden chariot and started his journey, they all followed him even beyond the city gates. Thereupon, stopping the chariot, Krishna came down and thanked them and requested them to return to Indraprastha. Afterwards, back at the palace, Mayaasura met Arjun and said that, in the past, he has stored many articles of great beauty and value required for the construction work in a lake called Bindu in a hidden valley of Mainaka mountain which lies on the north of Kailas. And that there is an enormously large-sized mace with the power and strength of 1,000 maces, which would be the befitting weapon for Bhim, just like how Gandiva was for Arjun. And the great conch shell by name Devadatta had also been stored along with that mace in that lake, said Maya. Then that Asura took leave of Arjun, accompanied by a large number of Asuras, and reaching that lake, recovered everything from its depths and brought them all to Indraprastha. Maya then gave that huge mace, which was made with materials like Vajra and decorated with gold and jewels, to Bhim. And he gifted that divine conch shell Devadatta to Arjun. Thereafter, within 14 months, Maya completed the work of that great assembly hall. In fact, it was not just a hall, it was a great palace with that magnanimous assembly hall being its main attraction. And no materials of this world had been used in its construction. Till then, the palace by name Sudharma, with a very large and beautiful assembly hall which belonged to the Yadavas and which was built by Vishwakarma, the architect of the Devas, was considered to be the best in this world. But the one built by Mayaasura for the Pandavas was far outshining Sudharma in its size and brilliance. Gold, precious stones and gems and jewels were used in abundance to decorate that hall and the palace. And Maya built artificial lakes inside that palace in such a way that sometimes it was difficult to distinguish between the floor and the lake. At some places, normal floor looked like a lake, and at other places, a water-filled pond looked like a normal floor. Like that, it was full of attractions as well as surprises. Now coming outside, that palace was surrounded by real lakes and gardens. Attractive and fragrant flowering plants and trees brought by Maya from other worlds were seen in plenty in those gardens. And flocks of swans, Chakravaga birds and peacocks and many more species of birds also came to live there without any fear. Maya then assigned a battalion of 8,000 Asuras to guard that palace day and night. They kept watch on land as well as in the skies, all the time, visible and invisible. On its completion, Yudhishtira made a ceremonious entry into that palace along with his brothers and other family members. Pudding, made of rice and milk and mixed with honey and ghee, was served to all citizens who attended Yudhishthira's royal entry to that palace. And then there was a feast with all tasty foods and delicacies. Thereafter, there was a constant flow of visitors to see that palace and the assembly hall. Kings and monarchs and citizens from the whole of Aryavarta and saints and rishis also came there as visitors. The Pandavas welcomed them all and made them happy with their hospitality. Then came Chitrasena, the king of the Gandharvas, who was a friend and well-wisher of the Pandavas. Chitrasena was accompanied by the great Gandharva musician Tumburu, and along with them came a large number of Gandharvas, Apsara beauties, Yakshas and Kinnaras. They all stayed in that palace for many days. In that great assembly hall of that palace, in front of King Yudhishtira and his brothers and other distinguished guests and ministers, those Apsara beauties danced to the tune and rhythm of the music of Tumburu and other Gandharva musicians and singers. During those days, many kings, princes, and great warriors and heroes of Aryavarta lived and studied Dhanurveda from the Madhyama Pandava Arjun, whose name and fame had by then spread in all three worlds. Then one day, when those Gandharvas and other luminaries and great rishis and saints were all seated in Yudhishthira's assembly hall, there arrived a great rishi of divine radiance. He had mastered all Vedas and Upanishads. He was capable of time traveling and knew all that had happened in many kalpas that had passed by in the past. That rishi was a perfect master with complete knowledge of the 6 angas, namely pronunciation, grammar, prosody, knowledge of basic as well as advanced terms, and knowledge of religious rites and astronomy. He was a master of both the Sankhya and Yoga systems of philosophy. In short, having crossed the ocean of Vidya and knowledge, he was respected by all celestials, and he was none other than the great sage Rishi Narada. On his entry to that hall, all of them there stood up and welcomed that great rishi. Yudhishthira and his brothers came down to meet him and welcomed him properly. Once he was happily seated and relaxed, Rishi Narada inquired about their well-being. Dear viewers, in the next several pages, Rishi Narada explains to King Yudhishthira all the intricacies and complexities of Rajadharma, or in other words, how to be a good king or ruler adhering to the Dharma Shastras. Rishi Narada, who could see into the future, was in fact preparing Yudhishthira for his future role as the emperor of Aryavarta. Thereafter, at a time when Rishi Narada was relaxed and seated in Yudhishthira's assembly, the Rishi expressed his appreciation for that great hall and said that in this Matyalok there is no other assembly hall to compare with this one. Thereafter, in the next several chapters, as an answer to Yudhishthira's question, Rishi Narada describes in detail about other great assembly halls or sabha, which is a word in Sanskrit for assembly hall. They are Indra Sabha, Yama Sabha, Varuna Sabha, Vaishravana Sabha, and Brahma Sabha. While describing Indra Sabha, Rishi Narada said that he saw King Harishchandra there in that assembly. So now, Yudhishthira asked Rishi Narada about the merit which enabled King Harishchandra to gain entry to that most acclaimed assembly of Indra. To this, Rishi Narada replied that it was because of his performing the greatest and most difficult and most auspicious of all yajnas by name Rajasuya. Thereafter, Rishi Narada tells Yudhishthira about his meeting with King Pandu at the Pitrulok. When Pandu came to know that Rishi Narada was on his way to the Martyalok, he requested that Rishi to convey a message to his son Yudhishthira. Accordingly, now Rishi Narada said, O Yudhishthira, amazed by the fact that King Harishchandra had got entry and a place in the assembly of Indra, Your father, King Pandu, asked me to tell you that you have the strength, power, and resources to conquer this earth and then to perform the Rajasuya Yajna, by virtue of which your father will also get entry to Indra Sabha and to the Swargalok. Thereafter, that great Rishi said that he is going to Dwaraka, and then bidding farewell to Yudhishtira and others who were present there, rose to the skies and disappeared from their sight. Dear viewers, here ends this chapter of our summarized version of Rishi Vedavyasa's timeless epic Mahabharata. Harihi Om.